Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, back with another Ice Nova character, which has basically become one of my favorite playstyles in this game, simply because you do get to actually interact with the screen, with the game, quite a bit, having to set up your Frostbolts into your Ice Novas, and this is my third or fourth Ice Nova or so. Unfortunately, I did skip it for the Legion League, which was probably one of the best leagues possible to play this type of build because Val Ice Nova completely destroys the Legion content, which you'll see in just a second. This time around though, I have decided to do a Raider for it because the Raider was somewhat reworked, a bit of a buff here or there, and I thought I could make it just a little bit different as a Spellcaster Raider, specifically using Ice Nova because I knew that Ice Nova would carry hard just about any Ascendancy or any playstyle I went with, and the Raider has a lot of movement speed, a lot of cast speed, and on top of that, pretty good defensive buffs. So in the end, my Raider can take on everything. At level 83, it already did a Uber Elder run, clean and deathless, for someone else. But it currently has more than enough DPS for that. It's got some decent effective HP, something like 5 or 6k combined with your Mind over Matter, Mana, and Life, as well as having really fast movement speed, really nice cast speed, and something like 50 to 60 spell dodge and regular dodge. So it ends up being a pretty well-balanced character and a solid way to play Ice Nova. I do think that the Assassin is going to be, since the rework, just slightly better overall for building an Ice Nova character, but if you can get over the early little progression stages for something like a Raider, it can become a pretty top tier Ice Nova as well. The difference there is something like an Assassin or an Elementalist will have a lot of its power very early on, whereas a Raider has something like 10 to 20 filler travel points, which just give you life, dexterity, and some dodge and stuff like that, so you won't have much damage early on unless you have some leveling gear, which I of course did because it's my fourth character of the league, and it ended up being pretty damn fun either way. I did level with Frostbolt and Ice Nova. Once you get the Frostbolt jewels thresholds, it becomes pretty much the playstyle you're gonna be in the end game, except you just need to hold on till you get Spell Echo, as always, because Echo will repeat your Ice Novas on your Frostbolts, and then you have a huge power spike once you hit level 68 and put on Pledge of Hands, which is basically going to be the undisputed Ice Nova stuff for any Ice Nova character, and I'll go over that in just a second as to how it works or why it's so good. You can definitely play with the other setups, like just crafting a shaped staff, going with void batteries or dual wands. As you may remember, my biggest Ice Nova character was a level 99 hardcore solo self-found assassin, and it managed to live the entire time, and it was very budget friendly as it was solo self-found, and it was an assassin as opposed to something like this Raider, and it didn't use any specific weapons or staves or anything, just had a couple of cast speed wands. So Ice Nova is extremely versatile in the budget you can use for it, extremely versatile in the ascendancy you can go towards playing it, but this time around it is a Raider, and it does provide a lot of movement speed as well as phasing, which means you can just run through your mobs, and that's pretty nice for Delve. The big problem with your Spell Echo and Pledge of Hands playstyle is it keeps repeating your Ice Novas on the Frostbolts, which in some cases will only give you your damage near the very end of the Frostbolt travel. As you can see here, my Frostbolts do travel, and they are not terribly slow because you have to use at least one threshold jewel at the moment for approach speed and balls, and it's only till the last few seconds that I'm getting my last few repeats of the Ice Nova on the Frostbolts, so especially for starting something out like this Elder here, which is a red tier Elder as I'm still leveling, it's gonna be a bit awkward. We do have 4 repeats of our Ice Nova at the moment, and only on the last few ticks is it going to be doing the Omega damage. So when you have to actually come in and engage with an enemy, like this one, to start with, it gets your damage just a little bit into the suboptimal range. But you can see absolutely overpowers all the content in your way once you can get those Ice Novas rolling. This is the tier 12 Elder, and it's just such a strong playstyle. It's very nice to be defensive while being offensive, being as far as you want or as close as you want, and then having a lot of defense in the form of dodge, spell dodge, evasion, movement speed, and some pretty good regen/leech if you can get it. But for the most part, the playstyle and the entire base of the character is just don't get hit. This is just a quick demo of the Uber Elder that I did at like level 83. I will do one in a, I don't know, more completed sense once the character's a bit more finalized as well, just so we can truly see Ice Nova shitting on him and how well the build is tackling this content. So far it's taken on everything just swimmingly, and pretty happy with it, and I want to show you how I've built this raider so far. So there is my character, currently level 89 raider called Pog Sidon. I went that character name because I kind of wanted to build around the Trident MTX that's currently in game, based on the water elemental weapon. If you have it on a staff, looks like a trident, and we're kind of Aqua Girl, Pog Sidon, whatever. And it's just a nice little icy MTX theme, but like I said, based on Pledge of Hands. Now, the reason we go Pledge of Hands is because Greater Spell Echo affects Ice Nova in a magical way. Traditionally, with most spells, it just repeats your shit twice, and you have to stand there and repeat the skill, which is okay because it gives you the extra 2 repeats, but it also means you stand still doing that and it locks you down in a cast. With Ice Nova, it doesn't work that way. When you normally just cast Ice Nova onto your Frostbolt, it will repeat twice. So if you have a Frostbolt out and you cast your Ice Nova, you'll get 2 casts onto 2 different Frostbolts. When you have Spell Echo attached, you'll get 2 extra casts. So that means you get 4 casts onto your 2 Frostbolts, and that's why Spell Echo is so good for Ice Nova. But then once you have Greater Spell Echo as well, it gives you an additional 2, so an additional 4 casts in total, giving you 8 Ice Novas off of 1 cast, and we might be able to see that because it is kind of tough to judge directly off of the Ice Novas here. So we press that, you press 1 Ice Nova, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 real quick is how it goes. And that means that it's pretty fucking hard to beat Pledge of Hands for a staff for Ice Nova. You get 8 casts off of your 1 button press. It doesn't lock you down for this stuff, and it's just a huge multiplier in the end towards your Ice Nova damage. It works with both Spell Echo and Greater Spell Echo. If you take Spell Echo out, you'll still get 6 casts, so that's entirely up to you, but supposedly the more repeats there are in Greater Spell Echo, the more damage there is, which is part of what I was talking about as to your last few little repeats are the most important ones, and also why it's kind of hard to get maximum boss DPS in against plenty of bosses out there, because not all of the bosses are going to be getting hit by 8 of your echoes, right? Or 8 of your repeats, especially off the last few or the last or the first couple. It's going to be tough to get all of your damage in, but it is very valuable for end game clearing, because as you can see, if you cast like that, your Ice Novas and Frostbolts are going to travel further and do more damage to things further away from you, which makes a pretty good setup for doing all kinds of Blight mechanics, because you can take care of lots of things very far away without getting anywhere near them and being in absolutely no danger. So Pledge of Hands, pretty hard to beat. You probably could do better with some real big shaped staves, but honestly, I wouldn't really bother. And Pledge of Hands is going to be a little expensive or rare because it's a Legion only drop at the moment. So be careful of that if you're solo self-finding your way towards one. Besides that, we do have Ice Nova, which has to be a Vile Ice Nova. It definitely helps for big oh shit buttons, as your Vile Ice Nova will clear everything. You then run just whatever the hell else you want, really. I'm currently running for clear, as my clear setup, Intensify, Hypothermia, Cold Pen, and Increased Area, and then swapping out Increased Area for Conk Effect. Now, your setup for Frostbolt should probably include a GMP, because the more balls you have out there, the more you can spread your Ice Novas up or down wherever you want. If you've only got a few balls going down the center, you can only really clear in one direction. So I think a GMP plus at least 1 Frostbolt duel is pretty ideal for this setup. And then besides that, Frostbolt is just pure utility. It's got Power Charge on crit, Curse on hit, and Assassin's Mark. So it curses, and it also lets us do all of our attacks. Now, a lot of people have been like, yo, Ice Nova mana sucks. What do I do about that? Oh no, my leech, my sustain. Mana Flask. That's it. It's pretty fucking good. I don't know if you noticed, but check it out. That's my mana. It's getting destroyed. Press Mana Flask, you can't possibly run out of mana. How many of these bad boys do you have? Like 5, 6 uses or something? You run a reduced flask charge belt and you can just stack them up infinitely, basically. And enduring the mod that says flask effect is not removed at full mana is crazy. I don't know if it's fully intended, but you may notice that if you press all of them at once, it's just going to keep going and keep using until they're all gone. So if I just did that like that, I have something like 40 seconds worth of mana flask going and continually sustaining my mana for mind over matter as well. And it just becomes a very strong, very efficient way of getting your mana full. And while you're killing other mobs, this will keep refreshing. So to be fair, at the start of a map, if you kill like a few packs and mash your mana flask, you can probably set up like 2 minutes worth of never-ending mana for your character for that map. And it just gets pretty crazy because you can do no regen maps very easily with this setup. And you can use all kinds of the new mana flask stuff like aqueous accelerant. You can go with essence extraction and arcane chemistry to make it all even better. But currently, that's what I've got on this one, and I definitely recommend looking into at least a mana flask into your mind over matter setups, but definitely into things that cost a lot of mana. Because currently I'm at 165 Ice Nova mana. I've got a lot of cast speed, and I pretty much don't notice the mana at all if I'm with my mana flask up, which is very easy to have up almost all of the time. And it's worth it. A lot of builds like this one specifically don't really have too many flask slots they can fill out that are that good anyway. A mana flask is going to be very strong just for your overall defense, and it's definitely worth using. So check out the mana flask. I think you'll find it's your new best friend. We then have just a helm crafted with frigid fossils. Can't really get too many good helm enchants, so I just went with Assassin Mark Curse Effect. I got Herald of Ice, Flame Dash, Slower Proj, Faster Casting. Slower Proj is just sitting here leveling and being swapped out for your Ice Nova or Frostbolt setup for the single target. Otherwise, Precision level 1 just for the crit. Clarity, not even using it at the moment because I'd rather just keep the mana unreserved. And then currently just a Frost Bomb and an increased duration here. But I will try and figure out probably a few other things to put in my last few gems. At the moment, there's just nothing too special to do there. And then the passive tree, well, as you can see, you start in kind of an unfavorable position as a raider. Got to go through all these dex, life nodes. You then get some good crit, you then get all the evasion. You pick up your frenzies, you get a few jewel sockets, and ideally your jewels have cast speed, crit multi, something like that. And then you get a fair amount of life and travel through to some staff nodes. Some staff nodes up here too, pick up mind over matter. And then we've anointed counterweight, which is a really strong staff node. Gives us 60 crit, 30 multi, and it's not even that expensive. 1 silver oil is all it costs. And then I'm still going to try and fill out this area because I could get a bit more damage in the form of that, could get a bit more life, but I'm pretty happy with my character's direction at the moment. So more area for more fun is just probably what I'm going to do. You can see the stats here, something like without phasing and stuff, 50 attack dodge, 51 spell dodge. You can easily use some Atziri's steps instead for even more spell dodge, but I went with just some temple boots for now. I'll look into the Atziri's steps if I can get a good corrupted pair for more spell dodge. And the rest of the gears basically get some cast speed on your gloves as a shaped pair. Like I said, reduced flask charge is used and nice there. Cast speed, crit multi on your neck. I did pick up the leech as a temple mod, but I don't think it really does too much very often at all. And then I went with some shaped rings that have cold damage to spells and a bit of resist as well. And lastly, the chest has level 1 arcane surge, life, crit, crafted it with etheric fossils. And you don't need to have the Arcane Surge on crit. I mean, the Arcane Surge built in. You can easily just have it in your actual setup in the end. But currently I do have it, so I'm maintaining off of 5-link just fine. Power Charge on crit, not even that good on our Frostbolt, but I think it's going to be the end game move. It won't be sustaining all that much all the time. This is but just one example of an Ice Nova character. I've got the Assassin, I've got the Occultist you can look at. Hierophants are apparently pretty good right now with a lot of area and mana sustain. You're probably looking to Indigons and cast on crits and God knows what. Look, it's a pretty versatile skill. I definitely love it these days. I would recommend trying it out if you're looking for a pretty caster-based setup, because it feels very castery and it does have a lot of versatility to how you can go about building your own character. That's it for now though, guys. In the next video, I will probably put up a few endgame fights and maybe some deep delves, something like that, if it feels appropriate. But for now, that is Poseidon, the Raider Ice Nova character. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.